Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old, and we'll share with you pictures of my cats that will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. So, obviously, I'm still getting over being sick. That is why I have not had another video. I got a bad case of strep throat, and by the time I got done with the strep throat, I had a bad sinus infection, which is what I'm now fighting. So that's why you haven't seen me. It's not because I'm disappearing again. I fully intend. I have all these videos planned. You know, I'm going to be on here. But I wanted to give a quick update on that so that you guys knew I wasn't disappearing again, and I also wanted to briefly talk about why you should not read a particular book. So, for those of you that watched my TBR for February, I talked about how excited I was to read a book called Starcat Infinity Claws. This over here with this delightful cover that I love so much. Makes me all the more upset. So I started this book yesterday, and I read the first 90 pages, which is about 30% of the way in, maybe a little more, and I was appalled. So I am a lifelong lover of horror. I watch and read all things horror, the extreme stuff as well, and there's really nothing that I can't handle that does not involve children or animals, you know, poor innocent animals. And I thought going in that this book was going to be a cutesy science fiction story about a sassy cat that, you know, inadvertently saves the world just by being a sassy cat. And then I got 90 pages in. There was a scene where these cats who are competing to go into space are put in an arena and told to fight it out. And they have these electric fences going around them. So the poor cats are scared and they're getting shocked. And then they're forced to fight and just tear into each other. And it is absolutely horrific. It's more graphic than I would have thought. And what's worse is the owners don't even realize this is going to happen, and most of the owners of these cats are kids. So these kids are suddenly watching their cats fight each other and, you know, have fur torn and blood spurting, and it's just so absolutely awful. And that was the point where I shut the ebook down and said, you know, I don't even want to read this because that's not something I can handle. These poor cats are, you know, prior to that, are kind of tortured and forced using electricity into doing all these other puzzles and tests by these people. And I was already very unsure of how things were going at that point. I was like, I don't like this. I really hope it stops soon. And then they got to the arena fighting, and it just ticked me off so much. So this is not a book that I will be continuing with. Who knows, maybe that is the only instance of that in this book and even in this series. But that alone is enough for me not to want to continue and find out. I signed up for a silly science fiction story about a cat saving the world. I did not sign up for pit fights with poor innocent creatures. So I kind of wanted to do this as a little PSA almost as well, because a lot of you guys that watched my TBR were like, oh my goodness, that's so adorable. Andrew in particular, I know you were really excited about this book. Please don't read this book. If this sort of thing bothers you, and I hope it does, then I'm not suggesting that you come anywhere near this book. Ignore the wonderful cover, because that's not what you're in store for inside. And maybe this will upset the author a bit that I'm going on and saying this, but this is my opinion. This is how I feel about it. It's going to be a trigger for a lot of people, and I had no idea that this was going to happen, so I just wanted to put it out there so that no one else picks this up thinking the same that I did, and not realizing that they are about to get graphic scenes of cat violence. So obviously that sort of changes things for me, because that was supposed to be the book that I ended off on in regards to my ebooks for the month. So I've had to change things up there. I did, however, it's actually been a couple of months. An author reached out to me and asked me if I would review his book, if he sent me an ebook copy. I agreed, and then I sort of dropped off the face of the planet for a while. So now that I'm back, I want to showcase his book on here and give him a chance, give him an honest review. So I am instead jumping into A Wizard's Dream, and I apologize, sir, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, because I will botch it so poorly that people will throw fruit and vegetables at me, and they will not be fresh ones. So this is the book that I will be reading, A Wizard's Dream. I'm about 10% of the way in as of today, and I'm really enjoying it. It's rather interesting. The author writes in a very poetic, lyrical style. He sort of personifies the the environment. So a lot of major landmarks, trees and mountains and that, are female or male, and they're given very lifelike qualities, which is very interesting. It may throw some people off, but in my head I'm kind of thinking it in the same way that that indigenous Americans do, in that the world around us is entirely alive. So I'm kind of enjoying it. I think it's a really lovely way of writing this so far, and we'll see how it goes. And of course, I'll give an honest and full opinion when I finish the book. But that's what I'm doing there. As far as the other books go, my physical book, I'm on the last one, and my audiobook, I'm on the last one. Now the audiobook I'll finish up on Thursday, so I'll have a few days to get started on the next one. And for that, for my final audiobook, I'm reading 12 Nights at Rotterhouse. And when I finish that, I'm going to jump into The Twisted Ones by T. King Fisher. And this will be my first T. King Fisher book. I know that she's an author who really jumps around in genre. She's won awards in horror, she's won awards in romance, maybe under two slightly different names, but I think a lot of times they kind of blend over. But I've only heard good things, and this sounds like a really interesting book as well, so I'm going to see how that goes. And then as far as the physical book, like I said, I'm on my last one. It is Lauren April's A Different Kind, which is about this girl here who is abducted by aliens, and potentially more than once, and she's just trying to figure life out and, find out how to stop it, and what actually happened to her when she was up in that ship to begin with, or if it even happened, if she's not just having some sort of breakdown. So once I finish that, which I know I will, and again I'll have a few days to spare, I decided that I would let you fine folks choose which physical book I jump into next. So there are 4 options here that I'm going to give you, and I planned on reading the synopsis of each, but I don't know if I'm going to have the voice for it. I'm going to try though. So your 4 options to pick for me, and you're just going to vote down below, are Brooks Stanwood with The Seventh Child, and this says, an elite group selected with infinite care, they came in response to offers they couldn't refuse, salaries beyond their wildest hopes. Jobs that demanded their unique talents and skills, dream houses, idyllic lives for themselves and their children in a perfectly beautiful village in the Berkshires. Hal and Judy Richardson could have been lured east from LA by a lot less. Ripton Falls, Massachusetts was everything they ever wanted. Given the chance of a lifetime, they could hardly believe their luck. They never dreamed it could hinge on Annie. Little Annie, who completed the big picture. Beautiful Annie, image of evil. 9-year-old Annie, who would unleash the centuries-old nightmare that awaited the seventh child. So option 1. Option 2 is Andrew Klavan's The Uncanny. Richard Storm reached the top of his profession, producing horror films based on a classic English ghost story. Now, with his life beginning to unravel, Richard is searching for something to believe in. Fleeing Hollywood for London, he embarks on a desperate quest to find evidence that the great old stories bear some truth and that the human spirit lives on after death. What he finds is Sophia, a woman caught in a nightmare more chilling than any of his film horrors. Propelled by a furious love, haunted by a terror he can barely confess to himself, Storm pursues Sophia through the labyrinth of her family's darkness and their involvement in Nazi art thefts, down a trail formed by the classic ghost stories themselves, into the very heart of the uncanny. Option 2. Option 3 is B.L. Wilson with Thrill Kill. She's his kind of woman, pretty, vulnerable, alone, where no one can hear her screams. Mia Jorgensen is a masseuse with a haunting smile and healing hands. Her hilltop house overlooks the pounding Pacific surf, and her mysterious presence feeds the gossip of the small Oregon town where she lives. But Mia's touch offers solace and renewal to the men and women who seek her care, except one. He waits in the shadows, watching, fondling the knotted cord hidden in his pocket. He knows the inside of her house intimately. His eyes have dissected her body, curve by sensuous curve. Hers is the face before him as he stalks his victims, her clients, night after night. Mia knows that Donovan Raitt is a parole, but she thinks she can help him, heal him, until he's in her house, out of control, a madman hungry for the thrill of his life. Option 3. And option 4 is Ed Kelleher and Harriette Vidal with A Spell. Handsome and popular, Christopher Simpson knew it was only a matter of time before he got the lucky break he needed to make him a hot new star. Then he met Cora. Charmed by her beauty, enthralled by her mystique, she became his all-consuming obsession. Day and night she haunted his mind and invaded his dreams. His passion was uncontrollable, his love not returned, but he was determined to make the strangely aloof Cora his, even if he had to use the spell. Once cast, it would make his life a living hell. Option 4. So, again, vote down below. The seventh child, The Uncanny, Thrill Kill, or The Spell. And whichever one you pick will be the book that I jump into after I finish this one here. I will read it all the way through, no matter how terrible it may be. And you just vote below. Again, do not pick up Starcat thinking that you're going to get a fun, whimsical story. That is not the case. I have pretty much shot my voice for the night, so I will be on here very soon with an actual video. Until then, stay safe, guys. Have a great week. Drink awesome coffee. Cheers.